Basically, the whole skit was just about you make a choice to serve God, but yet we don't be obedient to God. We don't stick to that choice that we've made. We make a promise to God. And Aaron sings that song on Sunday nights, nothing compares to the promise I have in you. But if nothing compares to it, why do things get in the way of it?
Right.
If that promise is the most important thing, why do things stop it from happening? It's time to start asking ourselves, what are we eating of? Are we eating of the fruits of the Spirit? Or are we eating of the fruits of the flesh? Are we eating of love, peace, joy, long-suffering, faith, goodness? Or are we eating of the fruits of adultery, fornication, uncleanness, idolatry, hatred, wrath, strife? Are we hungering and thirsting after God's righteousness? Because see, as we start eating these things of the flesh, as we start eating and we start going to the flesh, it's like eating Chinese food. You can eat as much as you want, but you're going to be hungry 20 minutes later. But see, as you begin to eat off the fruits of the Spirit, as you begin to get in tune with God, as you begin to choose to follow what God has laid out for you, it's like going to a steakhouse and getting you a nice big steak. It's going to fill you up until it's time for another meal. You're not going to have to go back later on and get a snack. I know with me, I've gone back and forth. I've stood up. I was called to preach when I was 17. Everybody in here remembers when I was 17. God gave me those tools to do what I need to do way before that. God gave me those tools before I was even... Well, I guess I can't say I was really in church because I was in church when I was 2, but growing up when I wasn't in church, I still had the tools that God wanted me to have. Maybe I didn't know about it. But I've gone back and forth. I know what it's like to want to run so bad. There was one time growing up, I knew my dad was a pastor, and I didn't want nothing to do with it when I lived up in Washington. And I've said before, I had one time when I was 15 or 16, I had a friend up in Washington. Went to church. Wouldn't say he was really a Christian. He went because his parents made him. And I actually got interested when I was 15, 16 years old up in Washington to go to church. didn't know anything about church. And I said, and he had a Wednesday night youth service he was going to, and him and one of my best friends were going. And I said, hey, can I go with you guys? And my friend told me, no, you're not a Christian, you can't go. And that alone there could have turned me away from church. That alone there, for a while, I didn't care to go to church. After that, my one friend actually asked me to go to church. I said, no, that ain't for me. I had actually told people, no, I'm not allowed in church because I'm not a Christian. But I didn't know. All I knew was what I was told that one time. That's all subject. I don't know where that just came to me, but we need to watch what we say because everybody's watching us. My friend up there, and I still talk to him, he may not have known the impact of what he said had on my life at that time. Thank God that he pulled me down here to Florida to where I was surrounded by people that I knew that were Christians. Thank God that he pulled me down here to where he could pull me in church. Because had it not been for that and I was still up in Washington, I never would have gone to church. Had it not been for my mom getting homesick and saying she missed her dad and wanted to be around her dad. Had it not been for that, God knows where I would be. But sometimes the things that we think are the smallest things that we say to people affect them the most.
Amen.
It's time to choose what we want. It's time for us to choose whether we're going to give God control or whether we're going to keep playing games. We don't know how much time we have. But I feel God telling me that for all of us, it's time to quit playing around. It's time. We're about to run out of time. You're about to run out of time. The ship is about to sail. And if you don't jump on, you're going to miss out. And you're going to be stuck on the dock, wishing, wondering what happened, wondering where it went wrong. We don't know how much time there is. Doctors can tell people all the time, oh, you got 2 weeks to live. But there's only one doctor that knows really how much time you've got.
Amen.
I don't know about you guys, but my prayer that I've been praying for the last few weeks is that God just rain down in a way that He's never rained down before. That God starts opening some eyes that have never been opened before. That's all I've got. If anybody has anything they need from God, anything you want to bring to God, anything you want to lay down to God, you can.